Gosh, here we are on episode 91 of Warehouse and Operations as a Career, and it looks like we're winding down with the second quarter already. I'm Marty, and I thought we'd get caught up on a few of the questions that you've sent in over the last 13 weeks or so. I hope everyone has had a safe and prosperous quarter, and that all of your planning is getting you to those goals that we set at the beginning of the year. It's been really great hearing from you about the increases and promotions that came up this year, and I'm excited to see all this advancement within our industry. I was thinking about a situation about 6 weeks ago about a gentleman that was working in I guess you could call it a utility position, that wanted to know how could he learn something about equipment operation. He'd had his eyes on a pallet runner job that was going to come open, I think sometime after school was let out for the summer. Now, he had been with the company for about 8 months. He was sure to let me know that he had been on time for every scheduled shift and that his bosses knew he could be counted on any time that she needed him. The facility was in the distribution arena, so there was a lot of inbound product moving around each shift, and they utilized pallet runners to move the product from the front dock, after the receivers had tagged it, to the aisles for the forklifts to put the products away. He explained that he had experience with the manual jack, but had never been given the opportunity or the training on any type of powered equipment. I hear this pretty frequently, so I'd kind of like to walk through how to go about becoming an operator, or one way that I've encouraged individuals to pursue their goals. First off, and we talk about it often here at WAOC, is the need to get noticed by our leads or our supervisors. As we've learned, that starts with being on time every day, making sure we have the proper PPEs on, and following all the rules, processes, and procedures that our facility may have. Another thing that I find helpful is to be that employee that is paying attention during startup or safety meetings, really participating every chance that's offered to us. As ironic as it sounds, if our name has never crossed the boss's desk, I can assure you that he's noticed us. We need to make sure that he or she knows what our plan and goal is. If we haven't told them that we want to operate that pallet jack and that we want that runner position, let's not get upset when we don't get it. Speaking of pallet jack, here's a great place for me to throw in my blah blah about operating powered industrial equipment. It's a rule everywhere. No, not actually a rule, but it's a law that we never ever get on, stand on, move, or operate a piece of equipment that we've not been trained on and certified on. In other words, know what we're doing regarding its safe operation and the environment that we're going to be in. I prefer just saying do not even touch it until we've been through the 29 CFR 1910.178 training. That's the OSHA reg here in the States, but I'm certain every country has an agency that provides such a regulation, or I hope they do anyway. I feel our management team should know our goals and plans from our first day on the job. Everywhere I've ever worked, and really every new position I ever had, I made sure my direct supervisor knew my intention was to be there every shift and be his or her best employee. The same holds true when we're ready to advance. This is where we should go to our boss and ask to see him for just a few minutes. Point out that we've been in this position for about 8 months. Let them know that we assume we've done a great job, as we've never been coached about anything. And if we have had a little coaching session, that we've corrected our behavior immediately. I can't honestly recall a single situation where a coaching session has ever really held anyone back. Actually, I feel when we're coached or corrected correctly, it can even make better employees out of us. We need to let them know that we're ready to move into a runner position, whenever one becomes available, and that we'd like to have the opportunity to learn how to operate the electric rider jack. I don't think there's anything wrong with wording it something like, "Hey boss, as you know, I've been working as a utility man for about 8 months now, and I feel I've shown you I'm a team player. I'd really like to be considered for a runner position when one becomes available. Could you help me get certified by the safety department and maybe help me get some training on it? I'd really like to be qualified whenever something opens up, and I'll get those pallets to the aisle for our fork drivers. Now he or she, our boss, knows what we want and what our goal is, and we've reached out to them for help. I'm almost certain that they'll get us set up. We've put it to them in such a way that it's to their advantage to get another equipment operator on their team. And just a quick little update, I'm happy to relay that this gentleman received that training, filled the open runner position, and his next goal is to be a receiver, which his direct supervisor had recommended him for to the receiving lead. It'll probably take about a year to make that transition, but the company knows they have a man ready when the need arises. Here's another equipment question that comes up pretty often. We get a lot of these or something like, I drive a set-down lift. Is it hard to learn to drive a stand-up? My answer is always not at all. I feel every piece of conventional powered warehouse equipment is really just, or mainly, I guess I should say, about safety. We need to be trained and certified on it. And if we are always focused on our surroundings, paying attention to what we're lifting and practicing, everything that we've learned, we're going to be good at it. I think it's important to remember we'll be standing a lot now too, though. I know when I came off the set down and went to the reach stand up, one of the first things I had to do was to get me a more comfortable boot. Something with a bit more arch support and really a better heel. I can assure you that it'll be money well spent. The first thing that you'll notice, all of our controls are really kind of about the same. We'll have the lift and lower, tilt forward and backward, and maybe a side to side, etc. Today, most of your stand-ups will be operated by one hand, maybe our thumb and fingers, that's going to be utilized for all the operational controls. I'd suggest to really practice with the steering also. Now our steering wheel is going to be flat and operated with one hand. Typically there's a forward steer and a reverse steer unit, which just means what our drive wheel is going to do when we turn, to turn right or left. That's a very important distinction, and as an operator, I really have some kind of strong opinions on the subject that we'll get to in another episode. We need to make sure that we feel comfortable with the steering, though, as it's going to feel different than that set-down lifts operation. Another thing to watch for is our turns. You may have gotten used to using the body of your set-down lift to gauge when you're clearing an upright and turning into an aisle. When operating a stand-up, you'll have outriggers protruding forward from the compartment body, really kind of on either side of your mass carriage. You'll need to align your turn with them kind of in mind, as they can be anywhere from flush to the body to like 3 or 6 inches on either side. Again, take things slow and really focus on what you're doing, and you should be just fine. One of the things that took some getting used to for me was getting comfortable with looking up at the different angle on the stand-up lift. I guess I was using a whole other set of neck muscles than I had used, when I was operating my set-down lift. Another point to remember is your stand-up was probably designed, and you'll find you're operating it in a narrower aisle environment now. Talking about narrow aisles, that's another whole episode that we could have. We'll kind of put something together and talk about the history of the narrow aisles and how they came to be. One more quick question. Let's see. Here's one about being an equipment operator and having to wear a PPE safety vest even though he's on a big piece of equipment and usually in the aisles. I haven't heard back from this gentleman, but I assume he's a forklift operator, as he mentions he's usually in the aisles. I do understand, some of us, I guess you could say, we don't like wearing the bright vest. It could be the bright colors, or in my case, I sometimes can't zip it up depending on what size I've grabbed. And I've heard some operators comment that they're just too hot to wear. A lot of times I can agree, with those machine operators that's working around machinery that our vest could get caught on something. That's really kind of a legitimate concern, with them. And I'd strongly suggest that those concerns are addressed, with management immediately. But honestly, for any other position in the warehouse, I personally just don't find it obtrusive at all. Most vests are made out of a mesh material for our industry anyway, or that, you'll find that they're really light to work with. It all boils down, it's a required PPE by our facility. I think it shows us as employees how much our employer is committed to our safety. And really, if we're being honest with ourselves, I hope that we'd all say we do feel safer and, more easily seen when we're in the aisles or crossing the front docks. Well, I hope you enjoyed the visit today. I appreciate you listening and thank you for taking the time to check us out today. I really love you sending in all these questions, thoughts, or comments. Be sure to just shoot them over to us. You can email them using host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com, and we'll get an answer looked up or at least share an opinion with you. If you have a moment, please check out our Facebook and Twitter feeds too. You can use the little @ WHSEANDOPS. And if you haven't checked out the Warehouse Equipment Operators community on Facebook yet, please do. We're having fun over there with that feed as well. I guess it's time to say thanks again, and until next week, please work safe, focus on our tasks to be done, and be that safety influence at your facility.